And finally, wanted to briefly update everybody on some new services that we'll be rolling out, some of which we already are offering and some which will be coming out this summer. 401ks, simple IRAs, financial plans, and private message boards. So I'll talk briefly about each of those. At the high level too, 401ks, that's a new service really geared towards businesses or sort of corporate services. Simple IRAs really aimed at sort of the independent contractor market. We've done those already for a while, Simples and SEPs, that's right in our wheelhouse, has been for a bit. 401ks is relatively new for us. The financial plans, the third bullet down, we've been sort of beta testing that idea for a year or two now with some clients. We are in the process of rolling that out for everybody though, so we will be able to handle financial plans, everything from tax planning to retirement planning for college, everything in between, and really do it in a scalable way, which we're excited about. And private message boards, I'm probably most excited about that, and hold that thought, I'll talk more about that in a second. 401ks, I'm sort of going to skip the bullet by bullet point here. Here is, I guess, the background and sort of our pitch, if you will, for our 401k solution. Most 401k plan sponsors or employers have two issues when it comes to their 401k plans. The first is that the fees they pay are too high. It may not be obvious, though, because many of those fees are hidden. The second problem that most employers have is that they do not realize that they actually have a fiduciary responsibility, a legal liability to prudently select and monitor the investment options they're offering their employees in their 401k plans. IIM is uniquely positioned, at least here in the Keys in Monroe County. We're the first and are still the only fee-only registered investment advisor in the Keys. Among other things, that means we have a true fiduciary obligation to our folks. When it comes to 401k specifically, the net of it is that we meet the highest standard for investment management services. Specifically, we are what's called an ERISA 338 investment manager. All of which means that when a small business or employer hires us to help administer their 401k plan, we offer them the greatest protection from legal claims related to poor investment selection and monitoring decisions. And we do that by, among other things, tackling those high hidden fees really head on by partnering with one of the lowest cost 401k admin and record keeping firms in the country. So we're excited to be rolling that out here locally and then some. Simple IRAs, again, we have done this for some time, really since day one, as well as SEPs. I'm not quite sure people realize that we offer them, so I'm just kind of reminding everybody here. It did come up recently, as it does every April around tax time. We seem to have more than we usually did, though, so felt like it was a good time to point out that, yeah, we can handle simples and really anything else in between when it comes to IRAs and retirement planning now, especially with the addition of 401k plans. So just something to I think might be relevant. Keep that in mind if you could. On the personal services side, we've recently invested some money in a couple of really high-end financial planning tools, specifically something called Riskalyze and Right Capital. I wanted to show you those real briefly to give you a sense of sort of capabilities we have there. What is Riskalyze? It's basically a way to independently assess your tolerance for financial risk. Helps us put together more diversified portfolios for you if desired. And the net of it is we are, after you take this tool, if you go online and fill out Riskalyze, you will basically come up with what's called a risk number. It's almost like a sleep number when it comes to, I think it's the Serta mattresses. You fill some things out and you end up with a sleep number. Same concept, only applying to risk in the financial markets. So here's just a couple of snapshots of a sample. This is somebody who had a risk score of 53. That's from 1 to 100, 1 being extremely conservative, 100 being fairly risky, at least as defined by a traditional financial planner, I would say. We can also do some scenario analysis. If a 2013 bull market were to happen, here is what your portfolio would expect to return. And on the other side, if we saw something like 2008 again, here's the paper losses that you might be looking at as well. So I think this is going to be more meaningful, and the reason to bring it up is as we see oil prices climb higher in Tarpon, as I expect, and if you are really just tired of the volatility at this point, I would say, first of all, let's not do anything yet. Let's make sure we get a little bit more reward for that suffering you've endured. But this might be something that we can use to really figure out, okay, what comes next for you after Tarpon. And to be clear, Tarpon at some point will go back to being a sort of a generalist but still focused value fund, at least as I envision everything right now. But this may be also a good time for you if you're approaching a certain milestone and you want to, in general, move to things that are less volatile in the market. Well, the point is we've got a way to really quantify that, and I've been using this more and more these days. Rhett and I like this tool quite a bit. I've also invested in something called Right Capital, which is really a high-end financial planning software tool that will dovetail pretty nicely with some things we're doing in Riskalyze, but is, I think, going to be especially useful when it comes to retirement planning specifically, although it does a ton. We could really run different scenarios for Social Security withdrawals, distributions, I should say. It reminds me of something like Adobe Photoshop, where it takes a while to master everything, but once you do, it is an impressive set of skills that you can tap into. Just a couple of sample reports in Right Capital. The other thing that's neat is we can work with you to upload things in here. We can also open up the tool from your side, so at home you can log on and play around with these scenarios yourself and upload your own data that we won't see. Some of this can stay private if you want it to, but it is a really high-end, it's a very attractive tool to really figure out some of those financial planning questions and issues that people really probably need to have answered or at least get input on, and Right Capital is a great way, we think, to do that. So we've invested some money in rolling this out to everybody. And lastly, the idea of private message boards. One of the big takeaways, I think, from all the ups and downs in the oil market the last few years is one of the shortcomings that is highlighted is really my ability to stay in close touch with all the investors in a sort of a scalable manner. I think we're at the stage where we want to try to improve that. And some of you, I'm assuming that if you have real questions are reaching out. If you're not, that's okay. You just assume we're on it, and that's fine too. But the idea of private message boards, which is something that we've been kicking around a little while, it really kind of checks some neat boxes for us in terms of being able to communicate with you all easily, to let each of you see maybe other questions that other folks are asked. I think it may make the sort of emotional toll of a lot of volatility easier to handle if maybe you don't have a specific question, but you just kind of want to see what I'm thinking about certain events that happen either in the oil market or at our companies. And these private message boards will be a way to sort of allow you to do that. So it's a way for us to more easily update you on portfolio news, any trades we might make in there. It's easier, I think, both to ask and to answer common questions. And one of the things I'm more excited about is really being able to put in front of you some sort of simplified versions of the stock research that Rhett and I are doing. The reality is a ton of the work that we do on individual names, it just never really gets seen by anybody outside the firm. And that's just sort of how it has always been in this industry. But I think we can really, I'm excited about kind of taking a lot of that research and boiling it down to 1 or 2 pages and then kind of giving you snapshots so you can, if you hear something about one of the companies we own, it's sort of a way to maybe ground yourself and remind yourself of why we own it for both good and bad reasons, right? I mean, it's something to just give you more transparency into the way we're thinking about the world and why we own the companies that we do. I think all that, my hunch is that all that will be pretty distinct and hopefully useful for you as well. That is it. That's it from the annual meeting. At this point in the actual annual meeting, I asked for questions. We got some along the way. The point being, though, that by any means, if anybody has questions on any of the content that I or Rhett's went over today, please fire away. You know where to reach us. Happy to either talk more on the phone or via email and address anything either in greater detail or that we might have missed during this recap of the whole annual meeting. So thank you, as usual, for your patience. Please let me know of any feedback on all this, good, bad, or even indifferent, and we'll be back in touch more as the year goes on. Thank you.